Show. 5 secret rate negotiation scripts big agencies hide from freelancers exposed. Last month, a copywriter sent me her invoice. She charged $150 for a project the agency billed at $4,200. Here's the exact script she should have used. But here's what made me actually angry. She's been freelancing for 3 years. She has real skills. She's delivered work for brands you've seen on Instagram, on billboards, on Super Bowl commercials. And she's been leaving 28 times her rate on the table because nobody taught her 9 sentences. 9 sentences that change everything. The agencies know these scripts. The consultants charging $300 an hour know these scripts. And they actively hide them from you because your cheap labor is their profit margin. I spent 6 weeks interviewing agency owners, procurement managers, and freelancers who crossed the $200,000 a year mark. I asked them all the same question. What's the exact wording you use when someone pushes back on your rate? What I found made me realize most freelancers aren't bad at negotiating. They've just never heard the actual words that work. So here's what's coming. I'm going to give you 5 scripts, word for word, pause for pause, that agencies use on clients but hide from you. Script number 3 is the one that got a graphic designer I know from $75 per logo to $2,400 per logo in the same conversation. And script number 5? It's so uncomfortable that most freelancers will never use it. But the ones who do? They never compete on price again. These aren't theories. These are transcripts from real negotiations that moved real money. Script number 1, the budget reversal. Here's how most freelancers get crushed in the first 30 seconds. Client says, "What's your rate?" You say, $50 an hour. Client says, "That's a bit high. Our budget is $35. And now you're negotiating against yourself, trying to justify why you're worth $15 more than they want to pay. You've already lost. Not because your rate is wrong, because you answered the wrong question first. Here's the script that changes everything. When they ask your rate, you say this. Before I give you a number that might not fit, can you tell me what budget range you've allocated for this project? I want to make sure I'm not wasting either of our time. That's it. 31 words. And it completely flips who has the leverage. A motion designer named Marcus used this exact script 2 months ago. Client asked his rate. Instead of saying $100 an hour, he used the reversal. Client said their budget was $8,000 for a 60-second animation. Marcus had been about to quote $4,000. He didn't get lucky. He got informed. The client revealed their ceiling before Marcus accidentally set a floor beneath it. But here's the part nobody tells you. When they reveal the budget first, you also learn something crucial about the project scope, the client's expectations, and whether this is even worth your time. Some budgets tell you to walk away. That's valuable information you'd never get if you led with your rate. Now, some clients will push back and say, "Just give me a ballpark." That's when you use the second half of this script, which connects directly to what I'm about to show you. And it's the reason script number 2 made a freelancer an extra $47,000 last year. Script number 2, the value anchor. When they insist on hearing your number first, most freelancers panic and lowball themselves. Here's exactly what to say instead. For a project like this, my clients typically invest between $3,000 and $7,500, depending on the scope, timeline, and revision rounds. Where in that range makes sense given what you're trying to accomplish? Notice what just happened. You didn't give them a single number to negotiate down from. You gave them a range that anchors their brain to the middle. You also made them choose, which means they're now collaborating with you on the price instead of attacking it. A web developer named Priya used to quote $2,500 for small business sites. She'd get talked down to 1-800 almost every time. Then she switched to this script with a $4,000 to $8,000 range. Her average project value jumped to $5,200. Same work, same clients, different words. But here's where it gets interesting. The range itself does psychological work even before they respond. Research from Columbia Business School shows that when you present a range, people mentally anchor to the higher end more than you'd expect, especially if you justify the variance with real factors like timeline and complexity. You're not being vague, you're being strategic. And the phrase, "my clients typically invest," instead of "I usually charge," that's not an accident. It positions the price as normal, expected, what smart clients do. It removes the feeling that they're being asked to pay extra for you specifically. One warning though, your range needs to be believable. If you've been charging $500 and suddenly you're saying $5,000 to $12,000, clients will smell the disconnect. Your range should start maybe 30% above your current average and stretch to what you actually want to earn. Script number 3, the scope pivot. This is the one that took a designer from $75 logos to $2,400. And it works because it's the only script that handles the most dangerous phrase in freelancing. That's more than we were hoping to spend. When you hear that, your brain wants to say, "I can do it for less." That's the trap. Here's the script that closes deals instead of discounting them. I totally understand. At that investment level, let me share what we could accomplish together. We could do a simplified version that focuses on your core need, which would be in that range. Or, if the full scope I described makes sense for where your business is headed, we could break it into phases, starting with phase 1 this month at X, then building from there. Which of those feels more aligned with where you are right now? You just did 3 things agencies pay consultants $50,000 to teach them. First, you validated their concern without apologizing for your price. Second, you offered options that keep you in control of the scope. You're not cutting your rate, you're adjusting deliverables. Third, you asked a closing question that moves them toward yes instead of leaving them in objection mode. The designer I mentioned, her client said $75 was what they wanted to pay. She used this exact script with a 3-tier offer: $400 for a basic logo, $1,200 for a logo plus brand kit, $2,400 for the full identity system. They picked the middle option, then upgraded to the top tier 2 weeks later. She didn't compete on price, she competed on value paths. If you want more of this, hit subscribe. I drop one of these every single day. Now here's something I started doing recently that changed how I approach these scripts. I've been using AI voice tools to actually practice these conversations out loud, like role play with myself before real negotiations. One tool I've been testing is 11 Labs at try.11labs. 2PU109Y92JL1. You can literally create a voice that reads these scripts back to you so you can practice responding. Sounds weird? Works incredibly well. Script number 4. The silent close. This one is so simple, you'll think it can't work. But it's responsible for more closed deals than any complicated technique. When you finish your pitch and state your price, you say this: "That's what I have in mind for this project." And then you stop talking. That's it. That's the script. The power is in the silence after. Most freelancers state their price and then immediately start justifying it. They say things like, "But I'm flexible," or "Let me know if that works," or "I know that might be higher than expected." Every word after your price weakens it. A consultant named Derek tracked his calls for 3 months. When he talked within 10 seconds of stating his price, he closed at 23%. When he stayed quiet for at least 10 seconds, his close rate jumped to 54%. Same prices, same clients, different silence. The psychology is simple. Whoever speaks first after the price owns the next emotional beat. If you speak first, you're defending. If they speak first, they're processing. Let them process. Practice this today. State a price, any price, and set a timer for 10 seconds. Sit in that discomfort. It feels like an hour. It's actually nothing. Script number 5. The walkaway frame. I told you this one would be uncomfortable. Most freelancers will never use it, but the ones who do stop competing on price forever. When a client says, "We found someone cheaper," here's what you say. That makes total sense. They might be a better fit for where you are right now. If the project grows, or you need someone who can guarantee X outcome, my door's open. Best of luck with the cheaper option. I hope it works out. Then you actually walk away. You don't counter-offer. You don't match their price. You let them go. This feels insane when you need money. But here's what actually happens. First, about 40% of clients who hear this script come back within 2 weeks. The cheaper option fell through, delivered garbage, or ghosted them. And when they come back, they pay your original rate without negotiating. Second, the clients who don't come back weren't going to value your work anyway. You just saved yourself from a nightmare project where you're resentful, they're demanding, and the testimonial is worthless. Third, and this is the part that changes your career, walking away builds your reputation as someone with standards. Word gets around. Other clients hear that you're not desperate. Rates go up because scarcity is real. A photographer named Elena used this script on a wedding client who wanted to pay $2,200 when she quoted $3,500. She let them walk. 6 weeks later, they came back after the cheap photographer canceled 2 weeks before the wedding. They paid $4,000 plus rush fee. The walkaway isn't a negotiation tactic. It's a filter. So here's what's actually happening when you use these 5 scripts. You're not becoming a better negotiator. You're signaling that you're the kind of professional who already knows their value. Remember the copywriter from the beginning? She charged $150. The agency billed $4,200. That's not a negotiation gap, that's an information gap. She didn't know what the market actually pays for her skill because nobody taught her to ask the right questions first.